Check out Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus, available to use online, at ATMs, or even down the local. Paddy Power, you beauty!
Hello and welcome to the Monday Postcast. As usual, I'm Maddie Plough, and on the sofa this week, I'm back joined by Racing Post colleague Nick Watts. We have Tom Siegel as well, and also Tom Nugent from Paddy Power. Coming up later in the show, we'll be looking back at the weekend's action at the Curragh. Of course, we've got an awful lot to get stuck into there. But of course, we have to look forward to one of the showpiece events of the summer, the Choral Eclipse. It's where we get to see some of the three-year-olds clash with the older horses. I'm really looking forward to it, really excited for the Eclipse at Sandown. Can we get some betting, please, Tom Nugent?
You can indeed. At the top of the Choral Eclipse with Paddy Power's Cliffs of Moher at 5-2. Barney Roy is next in at 4-1 alongside Eminent. 8-1, then Decorated Night, Highland Reel and Poet's Word. Ben Battle 10s, and it's 12-1 bar.
Okay, so we're just going to jump straight on into this and go for our early fancies for the Choral Eclipse. Obviously, there is still some uncertainty of who exactly is going to turn up, but we're going to give it a go anyway. Nick, we'll crack on with you.
Well, the derby's working out quite well, isn't it? So Cliffs of Moher and Eminent, the first two on my list. I know there's a bit of love for Eminent around, thinking he's going to be suited by the drop back to mile and 2, but from my point of view, I think the same applies to Cliffs of Moher. I think he might be suited by the drop back to mile and 2 as well. They're getting £10 from the older horses. I would expect the three-year-olds to fight out the finish. I don't know, I haven't heard if Barney Roy's a definite runner yet. I'd be surprised if Highland Reel went. I think Cliffs of Moher might be the chosen one from Ballydoyle, and as a lightly raced horse who might find his best trip at a mile and 2, he'd be the one I'd side with, although obviously the market agrees he's only 5-2.
Yeah, I'm going to sort of already confess to shooting myself in the foot, because although I said three-year-olds are clashing with the older horses, I think this year it could be perhaps dominated by the three-year-olds. Tom, have you got any thoughts on the Choral Eclipse?
Yeah, many thoughts. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a massive Cliffs of Moher fan myself. I think he's a bad price at 7-4. I think Barney Roy's got better form than him for sure. The difference is he's stepping up in trip.
Yeah, I do. I think the Derby form's not as good as that St James's Palace form beating Lancaster Bomber by a length?
No, I think the Guineas form's a lot better. I think the milers are really good. I'm not convinced by the mile and a half form. I think, look, they keep winning, don't they? Ben Battle won and Permian won and Rekindling beat the older horses on Saturday. But I'm still, the jury's out for me still on the Derby form. I'm pretty sure they're a mediocre bunch myself. I think the milers are pretty good. I think Churchill ran below form, but I think Barney Roy, I think the Time Boys will tell you he ran as fast up the Ascot Straight as any horse ever has. I think he's really exceptional. The difference is it's Sandown, up a hill over a mile and 2. I'm really surprised they're running him. If they do run him, he'd be near the top of my list, but I don't think...
Why are you surprised they're running him?
Because obviously they're trying to avoid Ribchester, aren't they, in the Sussex Stakes, and there's no other place for him to go after this. You know, is there a Group 1 at this time of the year?
No.
I'm slightly surprised. I would have thought they would have taken the two of them to Sussex and to Goodwood and see what happened there. But for me, I think he's better than Cliffs of Moher. Eminent's done quite a lot of racing in quite a short space of time. I know they said he was working brilliantly the other day. I don't like horses that work brilliantly before a big race. I really don't.
I don't like horses that work
I really don't. I think that's a bad sign. I think because I think you do too much at home before you get on. Aidan O'Brien's horses never do too much work before they get onto a track. In fact, as we can see, he doesn't like his horses work. You know, when they never win their maiden, isn't it? One horse has won its maiden this year. He likes to condition them on the track rather than off the track. That's what I like. I'm worried Eminent might leave his race at home. I think there's a couple of older horses in there. I think Michael Stout's Poet's Word is a really, really interesting horse. They kept him away from Ascot.
Speaking of gallops, I think David Milne says he's been doing some good work on the gallops, so you can't have him.
As long as he's not breaking 50 miles an hour, or whatever they said Eminent was doing, he broke the speed gun record or whatever he was doing at Newmarket. As long as, I think he's a very interesting horse stepping up against the younger horses. I don't know, Sandown's a tough track for 3-year-olds. It's stiff up that hill. I tend to try and look against them really in this summer, especially when they're dominating the market. So I'll be looking at the older horses. Decorated Night's getting better. He likes Sandown too.
That was a good run last time out. I think Barney Roy, perhaps they could go for something like the Juddmonte after this. Because I think they spoke of him as a Derby horse, so he's got to be getting this trip, hasn't he, really? Tom Nugent, any thoughts that you have to add on the Eclipse?
No major thoughts. Just worth noting there, the Prince of Wales's form for mascot seems to be reflected in the Choral Eclipse market. So second was Decorated Knight. He is 8-1 now from 12s, shortening up all the time. Next in was Ulysses. There's been plenty of each way money for Ulysses. 20-1, 14-1, 11-1. Just back out to 12s now. And Queen's Trust was next in at Ascot, and there's been a few bob knocking around for that as well. 20-1 into 12. So that just goes interesting angle into the race. Obviously, a bit of money is speaking for that Prince of Wales's form.
Right,
Nick,
very
can
interesting.
I throw one in there? What do you think of Permian, Nick?
He's going to go, isn't he, apparently? So, yeah.
Quite a big price he is, isn't he? I don't know what price he is, Tom. What is he, 20-1?
20s from 33s.
No, he's one you wouldn't be worried about him having too much racing at all, bearing in mind the yard he comes from. Sometimes you think the Johnston horses had plateaued and then they come back and win again. So the fact Permian did that and did it so well at Ascot, he's not an outrageous.
I think you'll love the trip as well.
If you throw out the Derby form, he's as good as there is, isn't there? Obviously you can't throw out the Derby form but if you look at the rest of the, the Dante forms worked out incredibly well. He won the Queen Edward. In great style, didn't he?
Do you reckon, though, Tom, back to that Derby form, do you reckon they're just a bunch of horses that are just going to end up beating each other throughout the year? Because that's what it seems like, doesn't it?
I certainly do think that, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised about that at all. We will reflect on the Irish Derby in a minute, but we'll stick with Sandown for now. Has anyone got anything that they're really looking forward to apart from the Eclipse? We have the Dragon Stakes for the 2-year-olds, the Gala Stakes and the Choral Charge and the Marathon both on Saturday. Anything in particular catch your eye, Nick? Or is it
I haven't seen any entries, to be honest.
No?
I dug out a couple from Friday's Sandown card. There's a couple of listed races which look quite good. Havana Grey.
In that Dragon Stakes,
yeah, a bit disappointing Ascot in the Norfolk, but he goes back to Sandown where he won the National Stakes, so he could easily bounce back. And a horse called Francus of Mark Johnston's is in the other listed race on the Friday. He ran really well in the King Edward, so there's 2 for Friday, but I haven't seen any entries for Saturday, so can't help you there.
That'll do. Tom S., any thoughts on the rest of Sandown from you?
Well, I've had, like Nick, we obviously haven't been able to get stuck into the Sandown card. If there was some rain around that mile, handicap's a race I like. I'm a big fan of a horse called Sir Roderick, but it's got to be soft for him.
Yeah,
Rod
he definitely
Millman's
needs
horse.
soft ground, yeah.
He ran an absolute blinder there 2 starts ago and then sort of blew out last time on quick ground. If it was really soft ground, I'd give him a chance, but obviously the forecast doesn't look like that. There is some thunderstorms around. And then, like Nick, I had a look at that Dragon Stakes. I thought, along with Havana Grey, Card Sharp, Mark Johnston's horse that was 3rd in the Norfolk on the wrong side. Or, well, the right side, the wrong side, who knows which side. Do the okey-cokey, whatever. I don't know where they were going. But I thought he ran a really good race. I thought Sandown, if he got a low draw up there at Sandown, he might be really hard to peg back.
Yeah, I agree. Tom Nugent, anything to add to that?
No, nothing. I had an eye on Card Sharp, all right, but nothing major really. Haven't had a chance to have a look at the entries yet. In typical professional fashion.
That's how we roll it. Right, no, I'm with you two for once. We're all agreeing. Card Sharp, I think, could be very interesting. But it's competition time now. Every week we give listeners and viewers the chance to win a free £25 or €25 bet, courtesy of our sponsors Paddy Power. All you have to do is answer a simple question and tweet your answer using the hashtag Postcast. Today's question is, who rode Capri in Saturday's Irish Derby? The answer will be announced on Friday's show.
Introducing Paddy Power's Hot Trot Jackpot, their new free-to-enter horse racing competition. Every Saturday, pick 5 horses in a free Lucky 31 bet for your chance to win the guaranteed £10,000 jackpot. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Right, welcome back to the Monday Postcast. We've looked forward to the Choral Eclipse, and now we're going to have a look back on Saturday's action, particularly the Irish Derby at the Curragh. Obviously, there's various thoughts going around on whether the race should even been run at the Curragh, which I could be interested to get your thoughts on, Tom. But first, we'll just discuss the Irish Derby in general. How impressed were we with Capri, and what chance were we given for the St Leger? If we first go to Tom Nugent and Paddy Power and get the St Leger betting, that might help us a little bit somewhat.
It would also help if I had it open, wouldn't it, as well?
It would help. Shall we?
Yeah, so Capri, it's all right. Capri is your 9-2 favourite now for the Leger, which is, Jesus, awful short. Cracksman is 5-1. Stradivarius 8s, Rekindling 10s. Coronet is 12-1. Venice Beach 14s. 16-1 Ben Battle and 20s Bar.
Fantastic, thank you very much. As we'd expect, very sort of open and interesting betting heat at this stage. Nick, we'll go to you. Irish Derby reflections and looking forward to the St Ledger. What do you reckon?
It was an exciting race. It wasn't one that made you go, "Wow, that was incredible!
Way
what a great
to keep
performance!"
the momentum up going into that.
Yeah, no, it was a good finish. Capri, he's had 9 races. He's been beaten a few times earlier in the season. I doubt he's an exceptional horse. I think if you're looking for one to take out of it, it was most definitely Cracksman. If you look, Capri's had 9 races. I think that was Cracksman's 4th. So he's still catching up in terms of experience. And I think, the longer he goes on, the better he'll get. And I'm sure, hopefully, he'll stay in training as a 4-year-old. And I think he could be a good prospect. Capri, the St Ledger is the obvious way to go with him. He's one of these Irish Derby winners. I don't see him being any kind of contender for the
You don't think he can cut the mustard
or
at
King
that
George
level, no?
or anything like that. They're well covered in that kind of race with Highland Reel and maybe even Idaho now as well. So the St Ledger is the right race for him. Does 9-2 appeal? Not particularly, no, because Aidan O'Brien's got a few others in there that you could throw into the mix. Rekindling one on Saturday, he looks a really thorough stay, and he's 10-1, so he's a better price again. And Capri's certainly not bomb-proof because he's been beaten quite a few times before. So well done to him, hats off. And sometimes these horses from Ballydor can just take a major leap forward, particularly when they're by Galileo. They can just kind of emerge. And so there's always the potential he could get much better in the second half of the season. But instant thoughts, 9-2 about the Legend. No, I'd be quite happy to look elsewhere for that.
Not convinced. You mentioned the King George there. We'll get some betting and some thoughts on that in a minute, but we'll go to you first, Tom S. What did you make of Capri and how do you think he comes into the St Ledger?
I thought he was incredibly well ridden. I thought he got a great ride. I think he's a solid horse, but he's probably he's not brilliant, is he? There's no possible way he can be brilliant. I think if John Gosden had his time again, he would definitely have run Cracksman in the Dante. I think the fact that he missed his prep race has cost him 1 Derby, possibly 2, in my opinion. I think he's just not the finished article, and I think missing your trial is a massive detriment to him. And having your time again, it was the ground wasn't that bad. All the horses that ran in the Dante have come out and performed well. I think it was a bad decision on his part to pull him out of the Dante, because I think he would have won on Sunday if he'd had that, or Saturday if he'd had that conditioning on him. As far as going forward, I think Cracksman should run in the St Ledger. I know his pedigree doesn't say that, but I think all he does is gallop. A lot of these Frankles...
Yeah, we go there every week, don't they, me and you?
But it's true. They don't change gear. They gallop. They're strong, resolute gallopers. I think that would be the race for him. John Dustin has a great record in the race. The stumbling block and the horse that no one mentioned as a possible... it wasn't even the prices there, is Enable, the filly. I think if she was to run in the St Ledger, she would win. I think she'd beat all the colts. I think she'd run on Saturday.
We know you love her.
She would have won. And I think I would hope that that's the route they go with Enable, the St Ledger. She's a homebred filly that'll stay forever. And if I know what price, she's not on your list there, Tom, is she? But
no, she's not in it at the minute, no.
Well, none of them are in it. There's no entries. But if she was in it, what price would you think she would be? And this is really putting you under pressure because we're expecting you to lay me as soon as we get off the phone.
Oh, I'm not a trader, so I wouldn't be qualified. I wouldn't be qualified to make such a... No, I meant she wasn't in the market, not in the entries, of course. I knew there was no entries, but it was a very shrewd dart from you anyway.
Oh, dearie me. Typical, isn't it? Nicky, we've had to put up with this all our career, haven't we?
No, it's terrible. Come on, stick your neck out, Tom.
Go on.
Oh, God, I literally wouldn't have a clue what to stick her in at. Sure, if Price-Wise is screaming about her, she'd be fairly close to the top.
Price-Wise is screaming out, she'd be 25-1 these days.
Right, we'll touch on Wings of Eagles, pardon me.
You're as bad as me. I've called it Wings of His Desire for the last 3 weeks.
Hey, I got there. I just had a bit of a tongue twister, okay? Obviously, it's a big gutting for Aidan O'Brien to lose him. Be interesting to see what he does with him now at stud, but he's been retired. Obviously, we lost somehow as well, which was gutting news for Ballydor, and now we have learned that the future for Minding is uncertain. What are our thoughts on Wings of Eagles? I think he could be one of those Derby winners that we look back on and we think, oh, he actually would have been perhaps a bit better than we gave him credit for. I think he was one of those, like you say, a lot of these horses we're talking about are all very strong stayers, and maybe he could have run in the Ledger or something like that. I think he would have absolutely loved it. Nick, any quick thoughts on Wings of Eagles?
We'll never really know what he could have done, could we? He kind of fizzed onto the scene in the last 100 yards of the Derby, and then he kind of fizzed out of it again very, very quickly. As for his stud career, I don't know how many opportunities he's going to get because he's not by the chosen one, Galileo, is he? He's by Pourmois, who they shunted off to be a national hunt stallion.
It could be Pourmois all over again, couldn't it?
It could be. So you could see him siring a Triumph Hurdle winner or two maybe in 5 or 6 years' time. But, you know, I doubt he's going to get long to prove himself in the flat sphere anyway. But, you know, he's injured. It's disappointing, but horses do get injured. He's going to have a nice life at stud now, so it's not all doom and gloom.
No doubt about it. Tom, Wings of Eagles, do you think, you know, he would have established himself as the top 3-year-old? You're saying they're all a bit of a muchness. Are you going to stick by that, or?
Listen, like Nick says, it's just hard to know. And, you know, it's hard to know when, you know, they're all presuming he got injured during the race. He might have been injured after the race. He might have been injured in the box on the way. No one knows when he got injured. So to say that definitely wasn't his form, I think that's a bit of, you know, Coolmore speak in a way. You know, we don't know when he was injured. He might have run perfectly up to form on Saturday. No one has a clue. So I don't know. Look, as Nick says, once again, it's a pedigree thing, isn't it? You know, that's one thing about Galileo. I know I'm bore everyone with my pedigree stuff, but those horses are so tough, so hard. The one non-Galileo that Aidan runs in the field gets injured, you know, and I think that's part and parcel of his brilliance as a sire. Is that, of course, some of his horses get injured. Of course they do. But they are incredibly tough. They're incredibly solid. They run on all ground types, and they keep running through a wall for you. Very few stallions you can say that about. And that's why, that's part of his, as well as his brilliance, that's part of his amazing, you know, repertoire as a stallion, is the fact that they just keep coming back for more. And unfortunately, we're not going to see that with Wings of Eagles. And I think if he'd been by Galileo, we might have seen a bit more of him.
Yeah, I mean, Aidan O'Brien's made a big thing of Galileo and the way he gives mental constitution to his horses, and he says that that's way more important than any sort of physical prowess that he can give them. And I think we're all going to sort of echo those thoughts. We've briefly mentioned the King George. We'll revisit it now and get some betting if he's got it prepared. Tom Nugent.
Oh, I've been ready. I've been waiting.
Fantastic.
Well done. Finally.
I'm telling you, I'm worth it. I'm worth that massive pay packet. Anyway,
round of applause.
Highland Reel is at the top of it, 13-8. Frontiersman is 6-1. Next in alongside Idaho, Jack Hobbs 7-1. Ulysses 8's alongside Enable. There you go, Tom. Journey is 12s alongside Cracksman and Eminent, and it's 14-1 bar.
We'll go to you first, Tom, but you say you don't think Enable will be running. Does anyone know what the hell they are going to do with that?
I think they'll go for the Irish Oaks. That's the feeling, isn't it?
Right.
And you can't run in both.
They did mention her for the King George, and I'd be interested in that. But
I can't see what, you know, maybe they'll take, you know, they did it with Tagruda, didn't they? They went straight there. It's possible. It's very possible. I just wonder whether they might think, you know, she's 4-11 for the Irish Oaks. I think the key was Maury getting beaten at Ascot. They're in the same ownership, obviously. If Maury had won as they expected her to do at Ascot, then I think she would have gone straight for the Irish Oaks, and maybe there would have been a switcheroo with Enable. I don't know now. I don't know. What you would say,
that's
though...
useless.
I know.
Come on,
hard.
King George thoughts.
No, I think she'll... Well, I don't think Enable's going to run in it. That's I think Highland Reel's the obvious one. He won it last year. Doesn't look like there's going to be doesn't look like there's a standout 3-year-old to take him on. Frontiersman maybe back at Ascot, but he's a bit funny, isn't he? I mean, he doesn't have enough. Doesn't do much running. You know. Idaho's in there too. The two of them, would they take each other on? Probably.
I think they will. After the Hardwick, they mentioned that they could both go, didn't they? So that could be quite interesting. But I think Highland Reel's, you know,
not a great Jack Hobbs fan, I have to admit. So you know, I don't know. So
can you give us something?
Well, one of the stout horses that runs in the Eclipse on Saturday, or maybe Ben Battle, or maybe Permian. You know what? You know these.
Too many maybes for me, Tom.
Of course, because we don't have a clue what's going to happen. No. If I knew what was going to happen, I wouldn't be sitting here. I think it's a very, very difficult one. I mean, if at the moment, if I was guessing, I'd have a few quid on Poet's Word at 25-1 or whatever price it is.
That's what we wanted. We got it out of you eventually.
Yeah, it took my time, didn't I? While I scrawled down the runners to make sure I could find one.
Right.
But I thought I like him. He's a horse I've got on my mind for the big races coming up.
Very nice. What do you reckon?
I'd be fascinated to see a rematch between Highland Reel and Frontiersman, because I had a little go on Frontiersman when he ran at Epsom, and I thought he didn't handle the track at all, not remotely.
I don't think I've ever seen a horse handle it worse, to be honest.
at the end of the race, I thought, crikey, he's got within a couple of lengths of Highland Reel there, despite not acting on the track at all. So a more conventional venue, you'd think maybe Frontiersman, if he took another leap forward, it could be quite close between them. Although that said, Highland Reel, it really is developing into one of their greats, isn't he? And he
did have the excuses of the travel as well at Epsom.
Yeah, he did. So he had his reasons as well for maybe running, or obviously won, but maybe it could have been even more impressive if he hadn't had the travel delays and that kind of stuff. But it just again goes to show how tough he is, and he does love Ascot as well. He obviously won the race last year. He's just come off a win at Ascot. So
I think the main thing with Highland Reel is maybe he's lacking that wow factor, but he's so versatile and he's so tough that he can overcome these things.
I think it's come late in his career. Maybe he didn't at one point, but you got to tip your hat to him. I think he's getting that wow factor now. Just by virtue of his performances, he just turns it in every time, and he's just solid. He's more than solid, actually. He's just a bloody good horse.
Right, well put. We'll move on to the rest of Curragh on Saturday. Did anything take your eye? Tom Nugent, I know you didn't even get there, did you?
No, I broke down on the way conveniently, but thanks be to God for 4G.
Conveniently?
Well, yeah, unconveniently.
Yeah, there we go.
I thought the Railway Stakes was an absolute cracking race on paper, and it turned out very well. Beckford looks very, very sharp. I thought Verbal Dexterity in second ran a blinder as well. I'd nearly have that Railway now ahead of the Coventry.
I would. I think it's the best 2-year-old race run so far, Tom.
Yeah, I think it was an absolute cracker, and even on paper, like we were discussing it in the office before the race was ever ran, it was just we were frothing at the mouth thinking about it, and we got the race we wanted out of it. The time was good, a shade faster than Ascot, I think, but I know there's perils comparing times at different tracks. But Beckford and Verbal Dexterity, they're both at big prices for the guineas next year. I'm not sure what the plan is with them, but two very good.
Have you got any prices on them, just so we can sort of have a look?
I'll drag it up here, but I think they're both in around the 25 to 1, 33 to 1 mark.
Okay. Sorry, quickly, Nick, anything from you at the Curragh?
No, just echo what the boy said. I mean, you can use Murillo to
your old friend
as a yardstick for the form, because obviously he's placed in the Coventry as well, and Beckford beat him quite comfortably. I thought Verbal Dexterity out of the three of them, I think he's probably not inconvenienced, but he probably wouldn't have wanted that drop back to 6 furlongs, because he won over 7, I think, on deep ground on his debut. So I would upgrade his showing. I thought that was very good indeed. And when he goes back up in trip, I'll be looking forward to that.
Okay, whilst Tom's digging out those prices, we'll go for a quick break.
Introducing Paddy Power's Hot Trot Jackpot, their new free-to-enter horse racing competition. Every Saturday, pick 5 horses in a free Lucky 31 bet for your chance to win the guaranteed £10,000 jackpot. T&Cs apply. 18+ be gambleaware.org.
Okay, welcome back to the Monday Postcast. I'm Maddie Playle, and this week I'm joined by Nick Watts, Tom Siegel and Tom Nugent. Have we got that betting for the 2,000 guineas, just looking back on the Railway Stakes?
Yeah, so the two horses we discussed there, Verbal Dexterity and Beckford, are both in at 25 to 1 at the moment. The Fava's Brother Bear at 20s, but I suppose there's a lot of horses yet to go into that market.
You've all missed it. You've done it again. The best horse running on Sunday at the Curragh was Gustav Klimt.
Oh, go on then.
Trained by Aidan O'Brien.
Now you've found your proper voice. Take it away.
He was superb. I mean, these Aidan O'Brien 2-year-olds that finished down the field on the, Minding, Capri, Churchill, they all get beat on their debuts and come out.
I think Highland Reel did as well, didn't
they? They all come out on totally different horses next time. I couldn't have been more impressed with him on, was it Sunday? Whatever. He won the first race on Sunday yesterday. He was drawn in the car park. He looked the first beat, and he went past the field in about 5 strides. I think, without a shadow of a doubt, he's a Guineas horse. And I cannot believe people aren't talking about him more. I thought it was incredibly impressed with him. He'd be the one to take the whole meeting for me. Gustav Klimt, named after an Austrian painter, if you didn't know, Maddie. What do you think of that?
Don't doubt my, cultural knowledge.
What price, Thomas?
Yeah,
what
price? 25.
Oh, God, what price was it before I mentioned him?
Right.
No, it's always been 25s. I wouldn't do that to you.
Before we descend into more chaos, what did we make of the Pretty Polly Stakes? Obviously, we had Nisoir, who now will go to the Nassau Stakes at Goodwood, we presume. Betting on that, please, Tom. Take it away.
Yeah, so Neswa was obviously very impressive at the Curragh over the weekend. 5 from 12 for the Nassau Stakes there. So the traders were obviously suitably impressed. At the top, it's Rhododendron at 5-2 alongside Shutter Speed. Neswa's next in at 5-1. 7th Heaven 6s. Alice Springs 7s alongside Queen's Trust, and Winter Blonde Me is 10s, and it's 12-1 bar.
Okay, I wonder what is happening with Alice Springs. I've just thought of that now you mentioned it. Anyway, Neswa, she was very... Neswa? I don't know, God knows. She was very strong at the finish, wasn't she, at the weekend? What did you make of the Pretty Polly? Tom Nugent, sorry.
Yeah, look, she was impressive, and the traders were suitably impressed as well. I'll let the lads put a bit more colour into it, but yeah, she's been well backed from 5-1 from 12s.
Okay, other Tom.
Yeah, she was really good, wasn't she? One that got away that. She was incredibly impressive. I thought she was really strong at the finish. Now, it was a pretty average race, in my opinion. The two form fillies, Journey ran no race, Sukova ran no race. There was reasons to expect it. Journey was dropping back in trip. She was never going to get the lead either with Craig's Pipes in there. Smart Cool looked like she was a bit disappointing after running two reasonable races. Rain Goddess, did she get the trip? Really, she might have, but she was beaten in a handicap last time, so I wouldn't go overboard with the form. But she just looked a class filly in the last furlong and a half. She missed the break as well.
Kicked in overdrive, didn't she?
Did,
she's improved a lot.
Yeah, and it was a great Group 1 race, so she's got to be in there with a fighting chance in the Nassau for sure.
Okay, cracking. Now we've spoke of Goodwood. Can I get each of yours anti-post bet for Glorious Goodwood? Nick, we'll kick off with you.
Oh, God, I can't even
yes,
think.
Yes, you can.
I don't even know any markets at the moment. Can I give Big Orange in the Goodwood Cup just because he's going to run and he's probably going to win?
That is pathetic.
That's not great, is it?
Do you know what? I don't know why we even bother sometimes. What is that?
But Tom, I can give you a useful nugget on Gustav Klimt as well. It's also a youth hostel in Stockholm because I stayed there a few years ago when I was travelling. It's a boat hostel, yeah.
A boat hostel? What's the difference? It's on a boat, is it?
It's a boat that was converted into a youth hostel, yeah. And I stayed there some years ago.
I'm sure it's not a prison, Nick.
Do you know what? I'm just going to leave you all to this now.
So there you go. We've both got Gustav Klimt facts there.
There we go. Yeah, right. We've both been on Google.
Glorious Goodwood, price-wise.
Projection. Should have won the Wokingham, I thought. I think it's a really good horse. I think a bit of softer ground. I think it might have been too quick for him. I think he's got a massive chance in the Stewards' Cup. Don't know what happened to my friend Naggers yesterday. I'm convinced he's a group horse, but he just 2 runs at the Curragh have been absolutely lamentable. So I don't know what to expect to him, but I'm a massive projection fan. He was desperately unlucky at Ascot. I know he's favourite for the Stewards' Cup, but I've already backed him and I'll back him again probably.
Speaking of Naggers, I'm just going to jump in there and say I think he's about 16-1 for the Stewards' Cup. I know they weren't over the moon with his preparation, hence why he missed Royal Ascot. But I agree with you. I think he's a top quality horse, and I wouldn't be surprised if he won the Stewards' Cup. Tom Nugent, any money for anything at Glorious Goodwood, or is it still too early for that?
Still a bit early for that. I was actually going to give you one for Galway instead of Goodwood.
But yes.
You have to be pain, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, just because I couldn't go, I wouldn't be. I don't look well in linen. I'm much better off over in Galway drinking pints. But anyway,
some would say you don't look good in anything, Tom.
Yeah, that's true. That's a fair point. Now, for well-versed journalists, I may ask you this question: is there any reason to believe that Somi Dar won't go to Goodwood? Is she still having that? She's got
muscle enzyme problems, hasn't she?
Is there any word that she might go to Goodwood, or is she fit and well? Or I suppose there's a phone call for you to make now this afternoon, Maddie.
You should expect this from me. I don't
have
a clue.
But anyway, she's 12-1 for the Nassau. If there was any inclination that she's fit and she might go, she's a big price each way.
That's better. That's what we
like. We want Galway.
The one for Galway. Well, Tom, now this is the one you should know all about. It's Tigress River in the Galway Hurdle is the one I was going to give you. Now we haven't got a price up yet, but one on the flat of the Curragh there a while back, and the quote from Joseph was, "We'll mix and match over flat and hurdles, and he'll most likely go to Galway," which basically, in my speak, knowing that JP owns it, means they'll probably go straight to Galway.
Okay, wonderful. Now we've got our teeth stuck into some of these middle distance prizes, but we've not even discussed the best one yet. Obviously, we had Zarak winning at Saint-Cloud at the weekend. What did we make of him? But first, can we have ARC prices and fancies from you, Tom?
Yes, indeed, you can.
And I want them now.
I want them straight
Not in 5
away.
minutes.
Right, okay. So Manzer is 6-1 favourite there at the moment. Enable 8-1. Bramato alongside at 8s, also minding there at 10s, but yet to see what'll happen here. Satono Diamond is 10-1, also Highland Reel 12s. Wald Geest 16-1, and that's 20-1 bar.
I'm loving that, how you pronounce that. Right, no comment. Nick, what do you make of the Arc? Can Zarak figure?
No, I don't think he probably can. He doesn't like Shanti. The trainer came out and said that afterwards. It's 0 from 4 there. So, he won well yesterday and it's great. You know, son of Sarkava and all that kind of stuff is you know,
and all that. Pedigree enthusiast over here.
She was one of my favourites when she was racing. So I always like to see these offspring of great horses go and do something. So it's nice to see that. I can't see him winning the Arc. If I was to give one again at this stage, well, maybe a couple. Order of St George, I think, again, is interesting because I thought he put up a monumental effort at Ascot to get anywhere near Big Orange. He made up huge amounts of ground, and I'm sure he could go there again and run very well, particularly if it's a bit softer than it was last season, where he's placed. There's a Japanese horse by Frankel, Soul Stirring. I don't know if it's the intention to come over at all.
Is that the filly, the 3-year-old filly?
Yeah, she's by Stasalito, who's a very, very good French filly who ran in See the Stars' Arc a few years ago as well. I think it's Frankel's first Group or Grade 1 winner ever, and she looks very good as well. She came over. Japanese have got to conquer the Arc one day, haven't they?
Kid Sun Black's not coming now, is he? I know you quoted Satono Diamond, but I'd love them to do it. Tom Segal, what do you think of Zarak?
I don't think he's going to win the Arc. He was okay on Sunday, was it? But I thought, once again, it was a bit of a fall-apart race. Some of the horses ran abysmally, and there were fallers and everything. I don't know what was going on there, so I don't think he'll win it. I like the 3-year-olds. I think Bramato is an exceptionally good horse, and I thought the filly that should have won the Diane by a mile. You've not mentioned Enable yet. Yeah, well, I was going. Listen,
he's building up to it. Come on,
wait, come on, Maddie. You know by now. I thought the filly that should have won the Diane by miles, Sister Charlie. She couldn't have been more unlucky. I think she would have won by 5 lengths if she'd got a clear run. Is a very interesting filly. I think she'll improve again for the step up in trip. Soft ground would be a worry for her, but if it was good ground, good or fast ground and the thing, I think she's a massive price. I think she could go well. Fillies have a great record in the race, and she should be unbeaten this year, and I think she's very good. And then my old friend Enable, who I think is the best 3-year-old in Europe at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, nice and easy. We'll just quickly, anyone else got any other horses running over the weekend that caught your eye? Nick?
I thought Fly Me to the Stars put up a good performance in the Northumberland Plate. I know it was 11-4, and you know many people would have expected it to win, but it was very inexperienced running in a big field handicap for the first time, and that would have done him a lot of good. And Sir Mark Prescott's got him in Group 1 races later in the season, I think in the Irish Ledger. So I think he would have learned a lot from that race, and I think he can go on to much better things.
Okay, Tom.
I think we mentioned him, my old friend the painter, the Austrian painter. I think he's the horse to take out the weekend. I thought Clemmy was good in the Group 3 as well. I like those 2-year-olds. I looked at the cover really. Newmarket was a bit funny. They were all over the track. The ground was a bit in and out. So I don't really want to spend too much time looking at that. But I thought Gustav Klimt and Clemmy and Beckford they were the obvious ones.
Okay, and Tom Nugent quickly.
Yeah, I already mentioned verbal dexterity for me.
Okay, I think it'd be good to give Ian Williams a quick mention. He's doing really, really well with his dual-purpose horses, and obviously had London Prize winning at Newcastle as well. Right, we're going to move on to everyone's favourite thing, which is the Twitter Q&A, where I just pummel questions that no one has an idea what the answers are at people. First, Tom, you will know this. Tom Robinson says, how does Pricewise deal with long losing runs?
Oh, here we go.
How does this change or affect his methodology? I would love to know this, because I'm bloody awful.
Look, it's a mental thing, isn't it? Of course it changes your methodology, because you start thinking differently, don't you? You start chasing, you start thinking in a different way to what you're used to. The horse on Sunday we talked about, Roger Varen's horse, Nezwa, was a tick-off in good form, and it's a one you start thinking about when you're not having winners, because you start thinking, is it good enough? Let's go for we'll play solid, we play safe. You go for the form horses rather than the ones that you tick off. And so, yes, of course, it's hard. It's like anything. Any job you do where things aren't going as well, you start trying in a way too hard. It doesn't come naturally anymore, and you start pushing. And it's the same when you're riding. If you're a jockey and you're having a illusion, or a trainer, you start altering your methods to try and try and get one over the line. And yes, it's difficult. It is difficult. There's no doubt about it.
Okay, very good. What's
What do you think? Was that a good one?
That was all right, yeah.
All right?
You
Was
did
that what you
well
were
there.
expecting?
Yeah,
It was almost emotional.
I know.
there,
I was going to say.
Get the violins out.
I broke into tears myself.
I'm wiping one from my eye here. Now.
It's
Choking up.
It's a hard life,
If I was there, I would definitely hug you, Tom. I would definitely hug you.
No, you can keep to yourself, thanks, my friend. I've seen you in a linen suit.
Right, enough talk of linen. Crikey. Jonathan Mumford asks, why do Aidan O'Brien's second and third string win so often? What's I'm going to chuck that one your way.
Well, because they're all superbly bred, mostly sons of Galileo, who I mentioned before, can just take a leap forward at any particular stage in time when they come to themselves. And if he runs 3 or 4 in a Guineas or a Derby or something like that, they've all got some sort of chance. And there's very rarely a pecking order there, because when there is, when they've got
proved wrong.
When they've got a Galileo or they've got a Camelot, they just tend to run the 1. When they run 5 or 6, they can use that scattergun approach as well, and it worked this year perfectly with Wings of Eagles, and they've all come through their trials. They've all run well. They all take leaps forward, as Tom says as well. As they go through this season, they just improve and improve and improve. It can happen at different rates with different horses.
I couldn't agree more. Everything you said there, Nick. I think you're right, and I think the key is that they do their racing on the track. So they're not
back
sitting
to this,
they're
workout
not sitting
thing.
At home saying, "Oh, this one's better than this one. This one's definitely the best one. This one," you know what I mean? It's where they go to. That's where it's done. Mark Johnson always says, you should find a reason not to run. Rather than a reason to run. So that's why he runs Permian in all these races. I sat next to him at a do before Royal Ascot, and his wife was telling me, we're never going to run Permian in the King Edward. He's lost 15 pounds or whatever. Mark Johnson said, of course we're going to run him. Why wouldn't we run him? It's a Royal Ascot. He's a good horse. We'll run him. And I think that's what Aidan's gets round to doing. I think they just run. And I think that's why some second strings, some third strings will beat the first strings, because I don't think he knows which one's going to come out on top.
Right, Moikey asks, is Beckford the best 2-year-old we've seen this season? We have sort of touched on where he would stand in the pecking order. I'm going to fire that one your way, Tom Nugent.
Best 2-year-old race, without a doubt. The time will tell. There's a lot of very good 2-year-old races to be run yet this season. Time will tell, but at the moment, looks like it.
Okay, cracking. It's been great fun. It's goodbye from me, Nick, and both the Toms. A quick reminder to enter our competition. And don't forget to rate the Postcast and subscribe on iTunes if you enjoy listening after this week's. I can't think why you wouldn't. We'll see you again next week.
Paddy Power stream all UK and Irish racing live on your mobile, tablet or PC. Unlike some other high street bookies, Paddy Power, you beauty!